Today is Saturday, January 2, 3, 4th, 2025. I'm just sitting on a couch in the living room and I'm trying to read this article. This is my second reading for the day. I feel a little bit down because I had a phone conversation with a lady and I just try to help her out along the way. In the conversation, I was a little bit imposing on her, saying that her partner, who is a friend of hers, should work much harder, to earn her keep. But she was very friendly lady who help people out. Her friend is terrible at work, but she wants to keep her as her staff, right, as a partner. So when I imposed on her saying that she should kick her out, she was a bit pissed off and she threw the tantrum. So I feel sorry, and also uh, I feel sorry about myself. I feel a little bit low, but I'm going to read this article lying down on the couch, right? I've never read this article, but I'm trying to learn English by reading it. Looks like some Cinderella story. So, Cinderella story. So let's find out if that's true or not. This article is from AmericanWonderHub.com. And the title is I Married a Homeless Man to Spite My Parents. A month later, I came home and froze in shock at what I saw. Story of the day. Not sure if this is true, right? When with a normal mindset, you don't marry a homeless guy unless you are homeless, right? This article was written November 2nd, 2024, last year, 2 months ago, by Emily, right? 10 read so far. Not many people read it. A surprising journey to love, from a practical marriage to an unforeseen transformation. I really believed I had it all sorted when I made the spontaneous choice to marry a stranger who was homeless. So that was the byline, right? Byline. This one was the byline. I really believed I had it all sorted when I made the spontaneous choice to marry a stranger who was homeless. It felt like the ideal answer to my parents' ongoing pressures, a sensible way to satisfy their expectations without too much involvement. I was completely unprepared for the surprise that hit me as soon as I stepped through the door a month later. Allow me to guide you on this thrilling ride. My name is Miley. I am 34 years old, and I never imagined my life would change so dramatically. From being a self sufficient, career focused single woman to marrying a homeless man, only to uncover a truth about him that would turn my world upside down. The unyielding pressure. For as long as I can remember, my parents have always been urging me to settle down. They were fixated on the notion that I needed to get married, have children, and lead the traditional life they had envisioned for me. Each dinner, each visit, every family gathering turned into an interrogation packed with matchmaking efforts, right? Turned into an interrogation. Nebula marriage versus breakup. Aquarius Cancer marriage. Pisces Leo breakup. Aries Leo, no. Miley, sweetheart, my mom, Martha, would begin, her tone as warm as always. Did you hear about the new guy at the office? He's a regional manager now, and he's quite a prize. How about you go out for coffee with him one of these days? Mom, I'm just not into dating at the moment. I would respond, doing my best to manage my irritation. I am concentrating on my professional journey. I am not looking for a relationship right now. But, sweetheart, my dad, Stephen, would say with his familiar worried tone, your career won't keep you warm at night. Having someone to share your life with is truly important. I already share my life with you and my friends. I would reply, I'm really happy, Dad. Text, I am simply not prepared to dive into anything right now. Yes, no matter how often I try to clarify my point, they just wouldn't back down. Every chat seemed to morph into a talk about the newest eligible bachelor, and it really got under my skin. I believed I had everything I figured out, or at least I thought I did. There was a under the skin, right? Irritation, uh, quite a prize, turned into an interrogation. The surprising ultimatum. That one unforgettable Sunday dinner turned everything upside down. What was meant to be just another ordinary evening quickly transformed when my parents shared the news that would completely change everything for me. Miley, my dad said, his tone more serious than usual. I've been having a chat with your mom. Oh boy, I whispered to myself. We've come to a decision, he said, ignoring my sarcasm. Uh, if you haven't tied the knot by the time you turn 35, you won't see a dime of our inheritance. Hold on, what? I spoke without thinking, the words escaping before I could catch them. Are you really serious? Our inheritance. We are, my mom said, her expression sincere. We truly hope to see you find your place and settle down. We really look forward to having great grandchildren while we are still young enough to truly enjoy their company. I was completely taken aback. Are you really serious right now? Are you really trying to push me into marrying someone just to secure my inheritance? This isn't blackmail, my dad stated, his voice steady. It's inspiration. I was in disbelief at what I was hearing. I was so angry that my parents believed they could dictate my personal life like this. I left their house that night in a whirlwind of emotions, feeling utterly betrayed and like no one really understood me, right? I left the house that night in a whirlwind of emotions. 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 For weeks, I kept my distance, allowing my anger to brew beneath the surface. It wasn't about the money. I didn't need their inheritance, but the way they believed they could push me into something I wasn't prepared for really troubled me on a deeper level. An outrageous thought. One day while I was strolling home from work, a completely ridiculous thought popped into my head. I walked by a homeless man on the sidewalk, holding a sign that asked for some change. He looked a bit unkempt, sporting a scruffy beard and tattered clothes, yet there was an undeniable depth in his eyes, something soulful that drew me in. Suddenly I found myself saying, "Hey, what do you think about getting married?" The man gazed upward, disbelief etched on his face. Huh? Disbelief etched on her face. Disbelief etched on her face. On his face. Disbelief etched on his face. I realize this may seem a bit out there, I said, my thoughts trembling over each other as I spoke. I really need to get married soon. I can provide you with a place to stay, some food, clean clothes, and a bit of cash. You'd simply need to pretend to be my husband in return. What are your thoughts on that? He looked at me for what seemed like an eternity, obviously convinced I was just kidding around. Are you for real? I am, I said, a smile creeping onto my face at the ridiculousness of it all. Just so you know, I'm Miley. Just so you know, I'm Miley. Stan, he said slowly, his voice laced with uncertainty, as if he were trying to figure out whether this was all just a joke. Hold on, are you actually proposing to me? I get that it might seem strange, but it's the only way I can handle the pressure from my parents. I have been handed an ultimatum. I really need to find a husband, and I need it to happen quickly. Stan paused, his mind swirling with uncertainty, but he took a moment to think. Are you really serious about this? This is honestly the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me. What are your thoughts? I found myself asking again, secretly wishing he would just say no. To my surprise, he said, looks like we have a deal. My future wife. Starting off on an unforeseen journey. Over the next few days, we focused on getting Stan all cleaned up and prepared to meet my parents. I was still reeling from what I had done, yet there was an unexpected sense of comfort in it. We went out shopping, picked him up a whole new wardrobe, and even took him for a salon visit. To my surprise, beneath all the dirt, I discovered that Stan was actually pretty handsome. A few days later, I introduced him to my parents as my future husband. Their faces showed it all. They were completely at a loss for words. At a loss. They were completely at a loss for words. Miley, my mom shouted, her voice brimming with enthusiasm. Why didn't you let us know? I just needed to make sure it was the genuine article before I spoke up. I admitted with a slight hesitation. But Stan and I are in love, right, sweetheart? Stan joined in seamlessly sharing enchanting stories of our whirlwind romance with my parents. A month later, we got married in an intimate private ceremony. I took the time to set up a strong prenup just to be prepared in case things didn't turn out the way I hoped. Living with Stan ended up being quite a pleasant experience. He had a way about him that was charming and funny, always ready to lend a hand around the house. We soon found ourselves in a cozy rhythm, much like two roommates acting as if they were truly in love. However, there was something that troubled me. Whenever I brought up his past or how he found himself living on the streets, he would just close off completely. He grew more distant, and the enigma surrounding him only intensified. The truth is revealed. After a long day at work, I stepped onto the house one evening and was greeted by an unexpected sight. As I walked down the hallway, I noticed rose petals scattered along the floor, guiding me into the living room. There I was greeted by a stunning heart crafted entirely from roses. In the midst of everything, there was Stan, looking sharp in his sleek black tuxedo, cradling a small velvet box in his hands. Is that you, Stan? I couldn't believe it and asked in disbelief etched on his face, right? Disbelief etched on his face. He smiled with warmth, his eyes brimming with feeling. Miley, he started, I really appreciate everything you've done. These past few weeks have been filled with so much joy because of you, and I would feel even happier if we could be genuine with one another. I really hope our relationship goes beyond just business arrangement. Text. I want you to love me for who I truly am, not just because of an agreement we came to. I stood there completely still, struggling to make it all in. Stan, where did you find all this? The tuxedo, the flowers, and the ring. Stan inhaled deeply, his face shifting to a more serious demeanor. I need to be honest with you, he said. I didn't always feel this way. I didn't always find myself without a home. I once had it all: wealth, a thriving business, everything I could have wanted. Yet my brothers turned against me. They stripped me of everything I owned and cast me aside, leaving me with absolutely nothing. I found myself stuck here, completely unable to defend myself. That's when I found myself living on the streets. He shared his story of being exploited, detailing how his brothers had taken his identity and leveraged their power to strip him of everything. When you entered my life, you brought me hope, he said. You recognized me as an individual, not merely someone to feel sorry for. That's the reason I fell for you. I sat there quietly, taken aback by what he had just revealed. Stan wasn't just the homeless man I had married out of obligation. He had suffered from a harsh betrayal, and I found myself drawn to him, not for his possessions or lack thereof, but for the person he truly was. I am not poor, he said with a genuine smile. I've been feeling a bit low lately, but I am ready to stand my ground. I've got a lawyer on board, and my case is set to go to court next month. I'm going to reclaim everything. In that moment of feeling overwhelmed, it hit me that everything had shifted. I wasn't just married to a man who needed help. I was married to someone with his own story, one filled with strength and resilience. As I sat there holding his hand, I realized that no matter what came next, I was no longer just existing to meet my parents' expectations. I discovered something genuine, something I'd never anticipated, yet it felt more right than anything I had ever experienced. It appears that life has a quirky knack for catching us off guard. I ended up marrying a homeless man for reasons I never saw coming. In exchange, I discovered love in its truest and most surprising form. Summarized, Miley, a 34-year-old single woman, found herself under pressure from her parents to marry a homeless man, stranger, all in an effort to meet her expectations with minimal commitment. Her parents were fixated on the notion of her leading a traditional life and were eager for her to find a partner and settle down. Miley was driven crazy by how every conversation seemed to revolve around the latest eligible bachelor. It was a Sunday dinner that would alter the course of Miley's life together. Her parents dropped a bombshell. Her parents dropped a bombshell. Her parents dropped a bombshell. If she wasn't married by the time she turned 35, she would be cut off from her inheritance completely. Man, I've read this article, but summarized. She would be cut off from their inheritance completely. Miley was completely taken aback by this decision, feeling both betrayed and misunderstood. For weeks, she kept her distance from her parents, grappling with feelings of betrayal and a sense of being misunderstood. The thought that they believed they could push Miley into something she wasn't prepared for really troubled her on a deeper level. One day, as Miley was walking home from work, she came across a homeless man named Stan. He offered her a place to stay, some food, fresh clothes, and a bit of money in return for his assistance. Stan felt a mix of confusion about and doubt about whether this was just a joke, but he could tell that Miley was genuinely concerned about what was happening. He mentioned that this was the only way for her to handle the pressure from her parents, who were putting her in a position where she had to marry him. Miley nodded in agreement, and Stan inquired about her thoughts on marriage. He explained to her that this was the only way to handle the pressure from her parents, who were presenting her with an ultimatum. Dropped a bombshell. Ultimatum. He found it odd, but Miley was earnest about it and insisted that it felt like they had an agreement. To her surprise, Stan said, "It seems we have a deal, my future wife." Miley's life changed dramatically when she chose to marry a homeless stranger, all in an effort to satisfy her parents' expectations without really making a serious commitment. This choice was more than just a way to ease her parents' expectations. It marked a significant moment in her journey. This tale emphasizes the need to recognize and honor our own desires, as well as the repercussions that can arise from hasty choices. The narrative centers on a woman named Miley who ties the knot with a homeless man named Stan, who is also her fiancé. Over the next few days, they focus on getting Stan all cleaned up and prepared to meet their parents, who are taken aback by the unexpected turn in their relationship. Taken aback. Stan starts off looking quite handsome, but later on, they introduce him to their parents as their fiancé. The couple ties the knot in an intimate ceremony, and the woman finds herself pleasantly surprised by his charm, sense of humor, and eagerness to pitch in with household chores. Yet, she grows more and more withdrawn whenever the topic of his past come up, and now he found himself living on the streets. How he found himself. She grows more and more withdrawn whenever the topic of his past comes up, and how I think right? One evening, the woman discovers a heart crafted from roses in the living room, and Stan confesses that he wants their relationship to be genuine, not merely a business arrangement. Miley is taken aback by this news and questions Stan about the source of all the roses, flowers, and the ring. Stan shares that he didn't always live on the streets. He once enjoyed a life filled with wealth and business success. His brothers turned against him, stripping away everything he owned and casting him aside, leaving him with absolutely nothing. He shared how his brothers had taken his identity and leveraged their power, leaving him with nothing. Stan shares that he fell in love with her because she recognized him as a person rather than merely someone to be pitied. Someone to be pitied. She comes to understand that Stan was more than just a homeless man. He was a victim of a harsh betrayal. He wasn't struggling financially and, and intends to stand his ground, bringing in a lawyer and taking his case to court next month. Miley comes to understand that she is now married to a person with a remarkable tale of strength and resilience. She isn't merely existing to meet her parents' expectations anymore. She's discovered something genuine and more fulfilling than anything she had ever experienced before. Life has a way of surprising us, and she chose to marry a homeless man for reasons that were anything but ordinary. In doing so, she discovered love in its truest and most unexpected form. Emily is a passionate journalist who focuses on celebrity news and stories that are popular at the moment. She writes about the lives of celebrities and stories that people all over the world are interested in because she always knows what's popular. Well, this article is just, I don't know, bombshell. She dropped a bombshell and this belief etched in his face. Inheritance, right? Cutting off from their inheritance, betrayal, betrayed and misunderstood. Well, that's it. Nothing in depth, right? Just plain old story. Nothing particular, right? Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye bye.